Okay, so who's attended my previous presentations? We have. You are brave souls. You two came back. Thank you very much. Anyway, so my name is Joe Fahey, and no, I'm not a Fitchburg Fahey or a Janesville Fahey. I'm a Belleville Fahey. Yes?
Did you ever go to Edgewood High School?
I did not. That would be a Madison Fahey.
The only reason I'm asking, I had a couple of my kids went Edgewood, and I remember the Fahey name.
Yeah, I did not, but I want you to know I did graduate from high school. So it was Belleville High School.
Thank you.
Okay. So, over the last, I just retired a couple years ago, and I spent 45 years in corporate life, and I'm here to tell you about it, which is really exciting, the fact that I survived. And for the last 20 years or so, I was involved in international marketing for a global company. So as a result, I traveled the world talking to customers and end users. And the best part was I got paid to do it. That is a really sweet deal. So after I retired, I had thousands of pictures, and I started going through them and said, you know, there's some pretty good stuff here, and maybe I can share it with a few people. I know it's not my kids, but there might be someone who's interested in this stuff. So as a result, I currently have 14 different presentations of places around the world that I like to share with people like yourself. So thank you for coming and listening to me. So today, we're going to talk about Beijing and the Great Wall, and a little bit about China itself. I was at a business meeting in Hong Kong, and I coerced a friend of mine to go to Beijing and for just a couple of days. It was a pretty fast trip, but you know, there's certain things on the bucket list, and the Great Wall was one of them. And so he and I went to Beijing. But before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of background information about China, okay? Because China is a real mysterious place for us, and very few of us have gone there. So China itself is about the size of the U.S. Maybe a little bit bigger if you measure it, but about the size. Now, the population is 1.4 billion people, and so it's 3 times the population of the U.S. in about the same size, and they have some really huge cities. So some other fun facts. This one kind of surprised me. China, the country, extends over 5 time zones. However, the whole country is on 1 time zone. It's all Beijing time. So no matter where you live in China, you're all on the same time. And you know, the country is first of all, I'm not going to get into politics in this thing, okay? But the government said it helps unify the country. I don't know if I feel unified if the sun sets at 2 in the afternoon. So anyway, it's kind of a curious thing, especially for us. The Chinese culture has the zodiac, or the calendar. There's 12 different animals that represent the different signs of the zodiac, and we are currently in the year of the rabbit. So 2023 is the year of the rabbit. There's also UNESCO World Heritage Sites. There are 1,100 UNESCO sites around the world, and there are 55 in China. The U.S. has 24. So, you know, that, let's face it, China has a lot more history and a lot more history of their civilization. Let's put it that way. And I just put this picture up because this is the Terracotta Army, and it was developed by the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, and they haven't discovered them all, or they haven't uncovered all of them yet, but there's somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 soldiers in the Terracotta Army, and every one of them is unique. There's no duplicates. Okay. I was going to say these are fun facts, but I'm just going to say categorically I have some facts about China. So, you know, there's discussion every once in a while about the Chinese eating dogs, and which we find a little bit, not reprehensible, but we just don't do that. So anyway, the government has been trying to downplay the let's cool the dog thing. However, there is a city in southwest China that has a dog festival, and the Chinese are interesting. Eating dog gives you good luck. Well, the Chinese are either the luckiest people or the unluckiest people, because almost everything is lucky. I mean, odd numbers are lucky. Boys are lucky. Eating dogs is lucky. You know, it's really odd. So anyway, this festival, last time they had over 4,000 dogs that were served. So anyway, as I said, it's background information. And then I find this one particularly interesting. In the 70s, the government was concerned about explosive growth, and so they limited the number of children per couple to 1, and you had to get a license to have a child. In 2015, they changed it to 2, and what they found is that if you could only have 1, they were leaning toward males, because males are lucky, and so the ratio of male to females is getting out of skew, and so they had to raise it to 2 children per couple now. So a lot of government control there. So there's some again, not fun facts, just facts about China. So I mentioned that Benjamin and I went to Beijing because we were on our way to the Great Wall. So a few things about Beijing. Beautiful city, if you can see it. Beijing is one of the most, has some of the worst air in the world. There are, when they look at the 20 cities with the worst air in the world, 16 are in China. And it's because of so many cars, so many people, burning coal for electricity. They don't have the regulations that we have here, and they've got a lot of people. And so here's your view of China. I have been to Beijing twice, and this is very consistent. I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years. I know bad air when I see it, and this was far worse than anything I'd ever seen in California. So we were standing on a bridge, and our guide was saying, okay, so here's the bird's nest. For those of you who remember the Olympics, when the Olympics were there, this is the national auditorium, and they call it the bird's nest. This was taken in the middle of the day. Notice the cars have lights on. That's how, and that wasn't a terrible day. It wasn't a good day, but that's kind of what you're dealing with. And so then I turned like 90 degrees, and this is the Pangu Plaza. So this is a very unique building, and I found a picture that is better than this because it's smoggy and it's at a bad angle. But this is what Pangu Plaza looks like on a good day, and it represents a dragon. Okay, so you see the head of the dragon, and here are the humps that like come out of the water, and then this is the tail. Now, Pangu Plaza, this is an office building. You see IBM is in there, and then they have 3 apartment buildings, and this is what they say is a 7-star hotel. Now, I'm only aware of 5 stars, so this place has to be really spectacular if they got 2 extra stars. So Pangu Plaza is a pretty famous place. So then, and as we go through this, I want to give a little background information. We arranged for a guide to take us around, which is, when you're in a foreign country, you kind of have to do that, but it's good news, bad news. And I'm giving you the good news now, the bad news will come a little bit later. So first, they took us to Forbidden City, and when we got there, we could hardly see it because of the smog and early fog, combination of both. But it cleared up a little bit. So then we got to go through Forbidden City. Now, just some background information on Forbidden City. Peking was pretty much leveled in 1402. And so in 1406, the emperor said, okay, we're going to build a new palace. And he ended up building the largest palace ever. And this is the layout of Forbidden City. Forbidden City, and it took 14 years to build, and it covers 180 acres. There's a wall and a moat, and inside the wall is 180 acres. Now, when I was a kid, our farm was 144, so think about how big that is. Inside, they had 980 buildings, and at its peak, it had 9,999 rooms. The rooms covered 1.6 million square feet. It was gigantic. And so the layout, the upper in this map certainly, was living quarters for the emperor and the highest ranking civil servants. And then this section was for the conducting business. Now this palace was the home of 24 emperors, and it served as the head of government for 500 years. Now it ended in 1911 when China went to democracy for a little while, but that was the end of the imperial government. So I wanted to give you a little closer view, and I know you can't read it, so I'm going to read some of these to you. And it seems a little odd to us, but the names of some of these buildings, and unfortunately I have to focus this a little bit so even I can read it. There we go. We've got like the Glory Palace, the Pavilion of Extended Spring, Palace of Longevity and Peace, Pavilion of Rain and Flowers, the Palace of Benevolent Tranquility. How do they come up with these names? The Hall of Mental Cultivation. What's mental cultivation? The Palace of Everlasting Spring. I'd like to go there. The Hall of Ultimate Supremacy. These names are, I mean, obviously they're so Chinese, but they're so ethereal. The Palace of Revering Benevolence. The Palace of Obeying the Heaven. The Palace of Everlasting Harmony. Okay, so then they've got the large halls, and these are the halls of harmony. This is Supreme Harmony, Middle Harmony, and Preserving Harmony, and we're gonna come back to this. But one of the places I did not go to was the Hall of Abstinence. I chose not to go to that one. So anyway, the Hall of Supreme Harmony is right here. And when you walk in through the wall into the courtyard, it's just magnificent. By the way, this is Benjamin, who was traveling with me. And you see this courtyard and all these buildings, and these are over 500 years old. It's just breathtaking. Now, the big question is, why is it called Forbidden City? And the reason is because the common people were forbidden from going inside. So it was just for the highest officials and the emperor. So here's the big courtyard. A little bit closer view of the Hall of Supreme Harmony. And some of you may have seen, there are movies that have been filmed there. And I don't know if anybody saw The Last Emperor, but these are a couple shots from The Last Emperor that were filmed right there at the Hall of Supreme Harmony. So, I mean, there are 9,000 rooms to look at. I mean, at some point, okay, fine. But they are so ornate. And they said these logs were brought from the jungle down in southwest China and hauled all the way to Beijing. There are huge stones, like weighing hundreds of tons, that many of them they had to build a river and haul it on ice in the winter to get them to the palace. There were, it's hard to estimate, but they felt there were about 100,000 artisans and 1 million workers who worked on this. To build this much in 14 years with limited assistance, that's a pretty good trick. So this is the emperor's throne, and you can see it's kind of hard to see. There's so much detail here, but his throne is right here, and of course he sat high above everyone so he could look down on them. And of course you have to have food dogs, right? So food dogs guard the entrance to the temples, and one is male and one is female. Do you know how you can tell the male and the female apart? That's kind of a loaded question, but okay. This is a male because he has his paw on a globe, and then the female is on the other side, and there's usually an offspring by its paw. So these protect the temple, and they're very common at the entrances. And the other way you can tell is when you are standing, you are looking out the opening of the temple. The female is on the right, and the male is on the left. And so for thousands of years, this goes to prove that the female is always right. Okay? I've been working on that one. Yeah. Okay, so I found this one just kind of curious, but it's really consistent with what I have seen from other parts of the world. And that is, China has all of our equipment comes from China. They have incredible technology. Their economy is dominates the world, and they've got guys sweeping with a broom that's made of sticks, and you see that in certain parts of the world. And what I have learned is that this is a political issue, in that it's very important to keep people employed. And if they use automation, then, and we're seeing this now, we don't have enough people, so we're automating. They're doing the opposite. They have too many people, and if they automated, there would be unemployment. And when people are unemployed, the people get a little upset with the government, and things get kind of dicey. So it's important to not automate too much. So this is how they keep Forbidden City clean. Remember I mentioned the dragon and the humps? I mean, just an incredible flower bed here, but kind of like, I wanted to show this to you because it's like Pangu Plaza and what that was modeled after. Chinese and Fusion dragons. And finally there's a moat. Okay, once again, this is 180 acres with a wall, and there's a moat all the way around, and the moat is 52 feet wide and 20 feet deep. It's huge. So it was very secure. Just a fascinating place to visit. Okay, so I mentioned that we had these guides. There were two guys, two of them and two of us. And there's always a deal. Okay, most of you are shaking your head. You know what the deal is. So the deal is you have to go see their cousin Vinny on the way to where you want to go. All right, so he had two cousins, Vinny and Jaime. And so we had to go see Silk and Jade. So, but it was interesting. Okay, now they want you to buy stuff, which is another story, but you learn a little bit about other topics. Now, we stopped at a place that made silk, and learned about, this is a silk moth, and it looks pretty menacing, but when it lays its eggs, and they hatch, the caterpillars eat mulberry leaves exclusively. So they eat mulberry leaves, and then they had all the different stages of the caterpillar's growth. But then they spin their cocoon, and the cocoon is a single thread that does the entire cocoon. So then they have to expose it to sunlight and get it to unravel the thread. And okay, when you go to these places, they're always staged, and they're just waiting for the Americans to show up. So these ladies were sitting around just gabbing, and so as soon as they walked in the door, they jump up and they start pretending like they're working, and so they're stretching the silk, and I don't even know why they do that, but they were putting on a show for us. So, and she looked to see if I was paying attention. So anyway, I did not buy any silk. So that was a big disappointment for his cousin Vinny. Anyway, so then we went to the Jade place, and Jade is interesting. Jade is really associated with China, and the emperors, the royalty for the longest time only the royalty could have jade, and Confucius. I think I know why they call him Confucius now. He associated everything positive to jade, whether it's good looks, wisdom, every kind of attribute, including good luck. So once again, the luck comes into play here. So we stopped at this jade place, and with jade, you can't chip it. You can only grind it. And so here's a guy who's working on it, and I did buy something there, which if anybody wants to see this, this is 4 balls inside a single piece and the exterior is a dragon. It's just beautifully done, and so jade is a big deal. And I also wanted to show you the possibilities of jade. I can't imagine what that cost, but there's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into working with jade. So he was successful because I did buy a piece there. So I think that helped make his day. So then we had to stop at his favorite restaurant. Yes?
Was that different pieces of jade and then put together? That wasn't all one piece.
The ship, yes, that's different pieces, but something like this.
All one piece?
No, that's there are some different pieces on there.
Yeah,
But this is one piece.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So we stopped at his favorite restaurant, and he said, "Let's just get some lunch quick before we go to the wall." So he and I each ordered this, and that's like food for 4 people. Do you know how long it took me to eat all this? And it was really good. We have some duck and vegetables and egg drop soup. It was outstanding, but it was a lot. So we head on our way to the wall. But before we go to the wall, a little more background information. And I want to talk about the Silk Road, because that comes into play here. Silk Road it wasn't a road per se, it wasn't a particular path, but it was the route traveled from between east and west for trading. And that route was used between 100 BC and 1400 AD. So for 1500 years, caravans would go back and forth on the Silk Road. And from China, they would take silk and tea, spices, and gunpowder. And from the west, they would bring textiles, manufactured products, and I was kind of surprised, horses, because apparently horses were not indigenous to the east. So what happened is the Silk Road served many purposes, and obviously trade is part of it. But let me go into the path here. So it goes from China, and it goes between the Gobi Desert and the Himalayas. And as you can see, there are several paths, but ultimately they go to Constantinople or to Alexandria. And from those locations, now it goes to Europe. And I was recently in Singapore, and they were talking about the Silk Road. Well, that doesn't make sense. The Silk Road doesn't go through Singapore. Well, there are other routes that, and certainly other markets to serve. And so it wasn't the Silk Road specifically, but it was an adjunct to the Silk Road. And you see it goes through India and down into Malaysia, around, and ultimately gets to Rome. So anyway, Silk Road is really important. And amongst other things, besides trade, it was exchange of ideas, religion, and the creation of cities. It was a cultural exchange. But there was one other thing. It was a route for disease. And they think the plague came from the east, which sounds a little bit familiar, but you can understand how that would happen. So, okay, so I wanted to show this map that looks like it was drawn by a third grader, but it kind of tells the story here. So you see the Silk Road, and again, it wasn't a specific road, but that's approximately where the Great Wall was built to protect the Silk Road, to protect primarily from the Mongols, from raiding. There was a lot of when you travel the Silk Road, there were caravans for safety, for protection, and so the Great Wall assisted with the trade, which was so important. And one thing I did mention is the key components of the exchange was that the Europeans got gunpowder, and that was a huge impact on warfare. And ultimately, the Mongolians got horses, and that's what Genghis Khan used to overtake much of Eastern Europe. So the Silk Road had a huge impact on Asia and Eastern Europe. So anyway, the Great Wall was intended to protect the trade. So the Great Wall is really a number of walls that were connected ultimately. I mean, this is over a couple thousand years. And you see it kind of meandered. You'd like to think, hey, if you did a straight line, it could be a lot shorter, couldn't it? But you'll see why. So anyway, it was built to protect the Silk Road to the south. So just some statistics on the Great Wall. 13,000 miles were built, which is, you know, the half the circumference of the Earth. And it took 2,000 years by 6 different dynasties to complete it. Started in the 7th century BC. By the way, science doesn't use BC or AD anymore. It's CE, which is current era, or BCE, before current era. So this is before current era. To keep the Mongolian tribes out, mostly by the Ming Dynasty between 1368 and 1644. They like to kick around this number, a million. A million people built Forbidden City, and a million people built the Great Wall. I mean, who knows? And we'll get into who built it. And we've heard this before, the world's longest graveyard. They think about 400,000 died. Now, they did not put them into the wall. So it's, you know, bodies decompose, and it doesn't help the integrity of the wall. So, but they figure about 400,000 died during the construction. And it's one of the new 7 wonders of the world. And so I'm going to attempt to name the new 7 wonders of the world, and I hope I don't make a mistake here. You have Chichen Itza in Mexico, Machu Picchu, Christ the Redeemer. You have the Colosseum, Petra, Great Wall, and Taj Mahal. Those are the new 7 wonders of the world. Okay, so there's fact and fiction about the Great Wall. Some people say, oh, you can see it from the moon. Well, they went to the moon and they couldn't see it, so it's not true. However, you can see it from space, and this was taken from the International Space Station. So it's hard to imagine that a structure that was built 2,000 years ago could be seen from space. Now, labor force, this is how did they build it? And the emperor made the decision, okay, we're going to do this, and then it's, okay, how are we going to pay for this? Who's going to do it? So they start with, okay, we've got a bunch of criminals, okay, we can put them to work, and then they could hire common people to help build, and then they use the military for supervision purposes. It's putting it lightly. And you see the inside is stone, sand. It's not solid. It's not solid stone all the way through. So that's the labor force, and there are parts of it which, you know, you look and say, well, now why has it lasted so long? There are some places where they added sticky rice to the mortar, and it made it last longer. So it's limestone mortar and rice, and I mean, you can see it gives it that white color, but apparently the sticky rice helped hold its or help with the holding power. Let's put it that way. So that's kind of a fun fact about the wall. So when they're building the wall, you know, you need 1 million people, and so what they did was they would create these lines. It'd be like a fire line where you would hand it from one guy to the next instead of climbing up these hills. And every once in a while, the emperor would show up just to make sure things are going well. And if they were ever behind schedule, and they did have a schedule, this would be the first case where, sorry, we have supply chain issues. Okay. All right, so this is what most of the wall looks like today. Yes?
Approximately how tall was the wall, or was there quite a variance depending on where it was?
That's a great question. It was very consistent, and it was really well made. And so I would say it was probably about 20 feet tall.
How much?
About 20.
20, okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, when you have 3,000 miles of wall, it's kind of hard to maintain it. So
Right.
a lot of it has gone into disrepair. And so our guide said, or according to our plan, we were supposed to go to bottling, and bottling is here. It's the tourist entry to the wall, and you know, bottling typically gets 63 million people a year, up to 70,000 people a day to walk the wall. And our guide said, you guys mind if we drive an extra like 20 kilometers? He says, pretty smoggy today, and it's probably gonna be a lot of people at bottling, so I know a place we can go that might be better. So, fine, let's go. There was nobody there, zero. We had the whole wall to ourselves. Now, you think, okay, over a few thousand miles, you should be able to have a wall to yourself. But it was really impressive that we were able to just explore by ourselves. And so here's the view. And you know, it's very hilly, and just getting up to the wall. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It follows the ridge, and so it was tough to get to the wall. And then once you get to the wall, now you're still going up and down. And I'll show you something. But here we're going up to the watchtower. And these watchtowers, they were used for communicating up and down the wall, and they'd have fires on them or flags, or you know, try to find smoke signals, whatever, to communicate. There are 25,000 of these. I mean, just think of the scope of this project. It's just mind-numbing. So here's you know, again, they were fighting the Mongols, and so here's a portal that they could shoot out of. But then this gives you a sense of how thick the wall was. It's gigantic. Now, I don't read Chinese, so I tried to get what's this sign telling us, and what we decided was that there was a ban on biological warfare, and so go easy on the Mongols. So when you get up to, we're up on one of the watchtowers, and you watch how this thing just meanders around, and it goes all along the ridge up here. You know, it's very hard to see, but its magnificence is just absolutely overwhelming. And so you turn the other way, and now you're going. This is what I mean by it's not for the faint of heart, because you are going up and down and up and down. So it's and again, it follow it along, goes through here, ultimately follows along this ridge. Oh wait, excuse me, no, follow it along this ridge. And so now you know why they had to have, you know, they can't have guys carrying these huge stones. They have to pass them because it'd be just too much work. Now, in this picture, I wanted to make the point that the wall, earlier I showed you how it just kind of squiggles around, and hey, why did you just build it straight? Well, they built it right on the crest of the hill, so that, you know, you asked about how high is the wall. Well, this is you know, 20 plus feet, but you're also coming up this hill, and you know, in any military battle, the high ground is the advantage. And so they have the high ground plus the wall. And so strategically, it was brilliant, but physically, that's a huge challenge. So it was just such a treat to be able to, you know, observe a piece of history that we all know something about, but not a lot about, and how important that the wall was historically. And this is one of my favorite pictures because I'm in it twice. And you know, we talk about pronouns, so I'm going to talk about we. We really enjoyed the opportunity to be at the Great Wall, and we also thank you for spending some time and listening to me describe about my trip. So thank you very much. In Chinese, it's qi qi. So thanks for spending time with me.